as much as closure is great, and as much as we want to be validated in our righteousness and want the other person to admit their wrongdoings, I think it's just better to learn the lesson and leave them where they are. And I think in that way, you take your power back in doing that. Instead of trying to focus on who was right or who was wrong, who did me wrong, who did this, just leave that person where they are, learn the lesson, move on. Yes, you were betrayed. Yes, it sucked. Yes, it shouldn't have happened. However, now you're better, you're wiser, and you're ready to move on to your next
Hello
relationship.
and welcome to Kitchen Table Advice. My name is Paola and I am the host of this podcast. This podcast is a safe place where you can ask for any advice you want. It can be relationship advice, both platonic or romantic, career advice, or life advice. I wanted to create a safe place where you can ask for your advice without fear. My purpose here is to serve as a guide and give you a different perspective for you to eventually both find your purpose in life as well as your voice. As a reminder, every name will be anonymous and your identity will always be kept a secret. This is not professional advice and I am not a licensed therapist or psychologist. Just think of this as advice you would get from a close friend on a kitchen table. So, let's begin.
Hello, my wonderful gems. How are you? I hope you're doing amazing. If you're a returning gem, welcome back. If you're new, hello, how are you? Make sure you test out the vibe, and if you like what you're listening to, then please feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. As usual, we just jump into the first story of the episode. So, the title of this first story is I want to know why I want to keep going back to this girl. Any advice will help. Well, that's straightforward and direct, so let's just jump in. I met this girl in August and we share a few friends in common. At first, it was nothing serious. I took her for coffee and we talked for about 4 hours. She was really interesting and it seemed like she was very empathetic and understood me. We also shared some things in common parentheses, music, food, experiences, etc. That day, we went to her best friend's house and watched some movies. Mind you, this is our first time hanging out together. When her friend left the room for a moment, she turned to me and randomly kissed me. And for the next few weeks after that, it seemed like she was very interested in me, saying I was everything she's been looking for and that she wanted to be the only one for me. Then she started acting weird, taking longer to respond, not interacting with me as much, barely hanging out with me, etc. I was so confused, and when I learned why, I was devastated. She had been trying to talk to my friends behind my back. She had told me I was the only one she was talking to. I confided so much in her and vice versa. It made me feel comfortable, like I had someone who truly cared how I feel. To find only to find out that I wasn't the only person. It made me feel betrayed, like I wasn't worth it to anyone, especially since the people she was trying to talk to are my friends. I ended up exploding on her and she just played dumb. I couldn't get her to admit that what she did was wrong, so I ended up looking like the bad guy. I told her to lose my number, that I wanted nothing to do with her. But it's been almost 2 weeks and I miss how comfortable I felt with her. I want to reach out, but I don't know how she would respond. What do I do? I kind of left this out, but for context, he's 20 years old. Um, you do nothing. You cut her out of your life because she was toxic to you. She was only using you for maybe proximity to your friends or whatever. There are multiple reasons as to why people talk to other people they're not interested in. Sometimes it's just loneliness. Sometimes they're just lonely and you're there, so they use you for companionship. Sometimes it's to use you for proximity to your hot friends or whatever. But yeah, just people like this. Listen, I know we all want closure. We all want to know why don't you like me or why are you treating me like this, why that. But we really need to stop. At the end of the day, most people are selfish. Most people are selfish. The longer you will be on this planet, you will learn this very real notion. Most people are selfish. Most people want what is theirs. Only a very few people are selfless, and sometimes is selfless because they want you to do something for them. So that's not really selflessness. However, In this case, I don't know why she was with you. I don't know why she confided in you. Sometimes people just want a therapist, but they don't have insurance, I guess. So they talk to other people. But anyway, the point of my advice is her reason should not matter to you. I understand why it does because you want closure. You want to understand why. Maybe become a better person or navigate the dating scene differently if you did something wrong. However, you being open, vulnerable, and forthright is not a bad thing, regardless of whatever people do out here. Can you be open, vulnerable, and forthright to the wrong person and they abuse and betray you and try to hold it above your head? Absolutely. But you are also going to find people out there who do appreciate your openness, honesty, and vulnerability. You just have to find those people. And unfortunately, before you get to those people, you kind of have to go through this. We all do. It's unfortunate, but I think it's also a way to like help us assess who we should keep in our life and who we shouldn't. So now that you've had this interaction with this girl, hopefully you've learned the lesson to just not trust anybody like that, especially since you were so open on the first day. I don't know what type of energy she gave you. Maybe she gave you an energy of acceptance as if you could be yourself. Or maybe you were just attracted to her and you were blinded by the pretty face. I don't know. But my advice is usually try to prolong the dating scene as much as you can. I know sometimes you can feel like you have a connection with someone you just met, you see them and you feel like they're your other half, but still try to prolong it as you can, as much as you can, because with more time you spend with someone you will gain clarity. I don't care how amazing they seem or how amazing they look. It can be easy for us to fantasize about somebody we don't know, but as time goes on, the facade will fade, the mask will fall off, you will see the real them. That is why I would suggest prolong the dating scene as much as you can. I know there's those few instances of people who just met, connected, and basically they've been together for life. I know that happens. However, for the rest of us, if not most of us, prolonging the dating scene and understanding your partner is the best way. So now that this has happened, on it, I don't think you should be holding it too much. I understand why, because it's hurtful, but the quicker you can let this go, the better. And another thing, I don't know if I said this on this channel or not, but we don't need closure. It would be nice to get closure. It would be nice to have an understanding as to why people are doing this or people are doing that. But at the end of the day, you do not need closure from someone who's been treating you badly. As much as closure is great, and as much as we want to be validated in our righteousness and want the other person to admit their wrongdoings, I think it's just better to learn the lesson and leave them where they are. And I think in that way, you take your power back in doing that. Instead of trying to focus on who was right or who was wrong, who did me wrong, who did this, just leave that person where they are, learn the lesson, move on. Yes, you were betrayed. Yes, it sucked. Yes, it shouldn't have happened. However, now you're better, you're wiser, and you're ready to move on to your next relationship. And I know it's easier said than done. So I don't want anybody coming in the comments. Yeah, I'm aware it's easier said than done. But I do think it is better than to hold on closure and try to make people admit their wrongdoing. Because if they're bad people, they're not going to do it. If they're manipulators or narcissistic or any other thing out there, they're never going to admit their wrongdoing. They're always going to try and victimize you. And at the end of the day, you're going to come off as wrong. So I think it's just, instead of trying to hold this, I'm right, you're wrong mentality, I think it's just better to, eh, wash our hands, learn the lesson from it, and move on. But that's my take on that. Another thing, I know this girl made you want be accepted, and it almost seemed like, what's it called? She made you feel accepted, she made you feel welcome, and it almost seemed like conversation with her was flowing. This is a positive thing. These are signs of a good relationship. So when you meet the next person who is doing these stuff, don't chalk it up as they're gonna betray you. Still be open minded, still try to be vulnerable, but with caution. Don't just pour your heart out, but give bits and pieces here and there and stretch out that dating scene. And as you are vulnerable with them, also allow them to be vulnerable with you and just try to figure out who they are as a person. So don't use this experience to really close you up, because those are legitimate signs of a good relationship, of a caring partner who wants you to succeed, who's going to be there for you, supporting you as you should also be supporting them. But okay. All right. Now we're going to take a break and come back with the second story of the episode. All right. We are back with the second story, and the title is It is interesting. Okay, so the title is I feel threatened and annoyed by pretty girls who do things I find cool. We'll just dive in. Okay, she did not disclose her age or anything. So hopefully I can kind of ascertain her age as we go on, but she didn't disclose her age. But here we go. So I'm really embarrassed, but I'll do anything to get rid of this mindset. Here's a little backstory. Growing up, I was the ugly duckling in class. I was taller, larger, less attractive than most girls in class. I didn't get attention from guys, although at times I wanted to. I started pursuing other things such as video games, anything sci fi or fantasy related, anime, drawing, blah, blah, blah. It was here that this force field around me of I can't be pretty, but at least I'm doing cool stuff started. I pursued all these traditionally masculine things and started resenting all and everything feminine. I would get comments from guys along the line of, wow, you're like the first girl I've met who does XYZ thing. You're so different, which would further amplify this BS mentality of mine. I started becoming resentful toward the so called quote unquote basic pretty popular girls in class. And in my world, I will always excuse my unfortunate looks with quote unquote having an interesting personality that beats having good looks. Or quote unquote, yeah, they may be stunning and popular, but at least they aren't doing what I'm doing. But ever since middle school, I will sometimes come across a woman who is doing some XYZ thing that I found cool, and it would upset me badly, like a Mega Fox looking girl liking my fave video game or something. According to my distorted worldview, that couldn't be possible, as in my worth is based on the hobbies and interests I pursue. But an attractive woman pursuing those exact same things would deem me worthless. I'm now pursuing a male dominated CSE degree. I have no idea what that is. I'm in my third year right now, but I saw one of the freshmen for this degree this year, and Lord, that deflated feeling of defeat again because she was gorgeous and looks like a Lauren Gray. My goodness. Yeah, I have no idea who celebrities are. I know Megan Fox. Who's Lauren Gray? It's like these people pop up every day. Yes, I am elitist. But to clarify, these are just intrusive thoughts I am trying to get rid of. I do not agree with the idea that my self worth is based on your activities, hobbies, pursuit, interests, and it goes way beyond that. I also don't hate women. Over the years, I've really become more and more in touch with my feminine side and what femininity is and what it means to me. I have wonderful female best friends who are everything to me. I love women. I am completely aware of the fact that I am also judging them at face value. I have no idea, essentially, other than what I've seen briefly on their Instagram or whatever, what they're actually doing or what they're like or what they find cool. For all I know, they're doing exactly the same ish that I do, and I just live in a weird egocentric bubble, and I need to go outside and touch some grass. Oh my gosh. If you've experienced a similar set of feelings in the past or you know anything about this set of feelings, what has helped? How do I get rid of this? And for the love of God, I know in my heart that this is ridiculous and childish as hell. But my mind still immediately goes to that dark place when I see a pretty woman doing something I do. I have distorted view on self worth, women, and life. Wow, that was something. We just dive in. This will probably be the last story of this episode, so we just dive in. Wow, that was a lot. But I think I'm understanding your view. Basically, your viewpoint is because you were not quote unquote attractive or what society deemed quote unquote the standard, you felt left out. You wanted attention from guys, they didn't give you the attention, so they gave it to those girls. And now you lash on to your hobbies or your intelligence for validation. They may be pretty, but they're quote unquote airheads. It's okay. It's okay. Some of us have gone through that. So I kind of sort of understand where you're coming from. And I think it is important. This is a lot of stuff. However, I'm just going to give you an advice to start off on the basics. Whenever you come across someone you have polarizing emotion towards, you don't really know. This isn't just directly to the person who wrote this in, but to anybody. You have polarizing emotions toward them. You don't know where it comes from, or maybe you do know where it comes from, but you don't like them for X, Y reason. It might just be the way they look or how they're interacting with people. Why they trying to show off so much, trying to be the cool kid. Whatever. Whenever you have those emotions, there tends to be a lack of self-worth and self-esteem. Well, duh, obviously. But to combat that, you have to accept yourself for who you are. The answer to that is you have to accept yourself for how you present and for who you are. And I know it's difficult, especially when you've been told you at your core, you're not enough. If you don't look like this, you're not enough. If you can't do this, you're not enough. If you don't do this exactly the way this is done, you're not enough. But you need to accept yourself for who you are. Not everyone out here who is just living in a quote unquote vessel that is accepted is living the way you said, which I think is something that the girl who wrote this understands. She understands it's ridiculous to hold this against women because they just look a certain way and they happen to like her hobbies. It's ridiculous. Just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean they're gonna think a certain way. And I know it can quote unquote feel good when we see that really attractive person is not as intelligent or as deep or as logical as we are, but this is why we come back to one of the primary advice on this channel. Your looks are not you. Your education is not you. Your youthfulness is not you. The fact that you're able bodied is not you. You have to find who you are at your core and accept that. Once you have accepted that you are a tall woman who likes sci-fi, fantasy, anime, video games, whatever, and you are content with that. Not trying to use this as, well, I have this over her, check mark, or I have an interesting personality, whereas she has nothing, check mark. But you really accepting that for who you are and like you said, not vilifying femininity, but accepting that as your own unique brand of femininity. That is how we get to a place where you can see a beautiful woman who does the exact same thing as you are and you consider her, well, she's just like me, she's like my sister. But yeah, I think one way to tackle this is accepting yourself for who you are, how you present, how you think, and what you like. And yes, it is a difficult journey to go through it. It's not just like one set thing. It does take time. It does take you speaking words of affirmation to yourself. If you need to have a mantra every single day as a reassurance that you are enough, you liking these hobbies does not make you any less feminine, or you liking these hobbies does not make you any less intelligent or make you any less worthy. That's a way to start off. But I think the crux of this message is that you still have yet to accept yourself for how you are appearing, how you think, and what you like in the world. And after you've accepted that, that is how you start validating yourself. You don't look toward outside perspective for validation because quickly as you get that validation from the outside, that can easily be retracted. And what is it? One of my mentors explained it to me like this. External validation is like a balloon. You pump up air. It's like whenever someone validates it, you pump up some air. The balloon is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then one person says something that is not aligned with how you have built yourself up with this external validation. One person says something that is out of pocket. For example, if for you it's like this girl, you have there's a lot of pump up air from, oh, you're so different. Oh, you like video games just like I do. Oh, you like sci-fi and fantasy. That air in that balloon is expanding, expanding, expanding. And then her meeting that pretty girl, that quote unquote societal attractive girl who also like those things, it's like someone taking the needle and gone. That is what external validation is. It's basically like a balloon popped up with air, and one person can just prick it with a needle, and boom, your self esteem is just shattered. Whereas self validation, that is where you really sit with yourself. You understand who you are. You understand your likes, your dislikes, your meh moments. Okay, we all have them. You understand what you bring to the table, and and most importantly, you are content with what you bring to the table. Because a lot of people are going to tell us what we bring to the table is not enough. May not be enough for them, but it's going to be enough for us, and it's going to be enough for our partners, whether it's friendships, business, or romantic partner. That part of you is going to be enough for them. But if you're not confident in that part of you, then your friends, your romantic partners, or anybody around is not going to be able to see it because you're going to be too busy trying to hide it and try to pantomime as someone else when that was never who you were meant to be in the first place. I hope I am making sense. Sometimes I can go on tangents and I just don't stop. But I hope I'm making sense. And I hope you're able to understand. But that's kind of how my mentor explained it to me. External validation is a balloon, pump up air, and then someone just comes with a prick, poof, gone. Whereas self validation, which is the validation that I always try to have you guys pursue, is where you have to sit with yourself. You have to go through the uncomfortable task of assessing who you are objectively, that alone can be very difficult, especially if especially if there's a voice in your head telling you you're not enough, especially if there's a voice in your head telling you you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. We need to learn to tune that voice out and really assess ourselves objectively. And if that can be difficult, don't be afraid to ask the people around you, the people who you trust, okay? Don't just ask anybody some advice out here. Ask people who you trust, people who you would trust with your life. What do they like about you? Sometimes we need other people's opinion to really see ourselves for who you are because we can be our own worst critic. So if you really trust someone, and yes, it's okay to ask your parents. Sometimes your parents saying something good about you is not just because they're your parents. They can really see something, okay? Some parents are good, some parents are bad, but just because your parents are always supporting you, that doesn't mean they're just talking out of their butt. I mean, sometimes they are, but other times they're not. But yeah, it's okay for you to ask your parents, ask your close friends, what did they like about you? And then you really see yourself, how they see you. And you can build your confidence off based on that. Not just your hobbies or your interests or the way you look, but really on who you are at your core and what you bring to the table. But yes, that is it. I really love and appreciate this video. Not because of the advice I actually gave, but there was so much noise around me. We had to stop, pause, come back, stop, pause, and come back. And I was just like, wow, I love life. I love life. It was so chaotic. It was a mess, but we got through it. And I am happy and I'm excited. And I hope you are as well. Please let us know what you thought of this advice in the comment section below, whether you agree or disagree with me. That's fine. Let us know. And we get our stories on our Gmail account, which is kitchentableadvice@gmail.com. That's where we get some of our stories as well as business inquiries. So if you want to reach out to us, you don't really want to come to the comment section and comment, that's completely fine. And we have not forgotten you, silent supporters. Yes, I know you're there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for your silent support. And also the people who leave comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for your comments. We are appreciative and grateful for every single one of our subscribers. And we thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. So thank you again so much. And we'll see you next week. Bye.